Rex.
Yeah, let's talk about Rex, baby.
We did that at soundcheck, and it was like, oh God, why are we saying that?
So in 1976, the musical Rex opened and closed in a month and a half at the Lunt-Fontanne. The short run was a surprise because the score was by none other than Richard Rodgers and Sheldon Harnick. It was Rodgers' second to last new Broadway musical and shortest run of his career.
Rex chronicled the life of King Henry VIII and his struggle to produce a male heir and concurrent beheading of his wives. Henry was played by the formidable actor Nicol Williamson. As Ken Mandelbaum wrote in Not Since Carrie, Rex was momentarily awakened on May 13th when, during curtain calls, Williamson, who had not endeared himself to either the cast or the creative team, slapped dancer Jim Lytton in front of a shocked audience. Lytton had said, "That's a wrap," during the bows, but Williamson heard, "That was crap," and turned around and slapped him. Don't see that come from away.
The show also starred Penny Fuller in the dual roles of Anne Boleyn and Princess Elizabeth. Glenn Close played Mary Tudor. Yeah, right? Cool. Producer Richard Adler wanted Michael Bennett to direct, but Bennett wanted too much money. He walked away to work on a new project of his that was about chorus dancers.
What happened to that,
The director ended up being Ed Sheeran, whose only credit on the musical was getting fired from Seesaw out in Detroit. Someone knows him. Hal Prince eventually came in to doctor the show without credit.
About the out-of-town tryout, Sharon said, "This is the hardest work I've ever done in my life. I was under fire in Korea." Oh my God, I love musical theater. The reviews were largely pans. Many said that the show couldn't decide if Henry VIII was a monster or a misunderstood hero, and that there was no way to turn his entire life into a satisfying musical. The New York Times was particularly angry that the audience didn't even get to see a decent beheading.
So 1970s audiences in the midst of the women's movement found the sexism of the story particularly offensive. And as Ethan Morden wrote, Henry VIII is a fascinating figure, but he shouldn't sing in a musical. His daughter Elizabeth is another matter. She is everything at once, king and woman, power and love. She turns men into bottoms. That's a show!
Yet, Nicol Williamson did have his admirers as Henry. Time thought he radiated a sense of imminent danger and mercurial passion. They also compared his performance in Rex to a shark in a suburban swimming pool. During the tryout in DC, Williamson told gossip columnist Liz Smith, "I feel as though I'm dying. Every single performance is like being taken away in an ambulance." He was working hard. Time did think that the only time Rex caught fire was in a scene where Williamson and Penny Fuller warred with swords. They wrote, "As Anne, Fuller is a meddlesome enchantress."
Can you imagine if people like this day and age gave interviews like that? They're like, "Oh, I'm doing this show." Oh God.
I mean, they do it on Twitter.
Well, yeah.
There was no Twitter during Rex, can you imagine?
The old guard of critics seemed upset that the show was both too old-fashioned and not old-fashioned enough. In the New York Times, Walter Kerr wrote, "Once upon a time, there was a form called musical comedy, but some sort of wicked witch came along and took the comedy out of it, leaving sober-sided narratives and thoughtfully motivated tunes, often good tunes, to do all of the evening's work. Now they're trying to take the music away too, after which we can wear hair shirts and do penance for the sin of having, for so many carefree years, enjoyed ourselves. Look what they're doing to Richard Rodgers."
All in all, the best reviews for Rex were indeed for Penny Fuller. The Daily News wrote, "Fuller, an accomplished actress and singer, is cleverly cast as both Anne Boleyn and, with Mom long out of the way, as Princess Elizabeth. She is extremely attractive in both roles." The New York Post said she was excellent and touching, and Variety wrote that she was convincing and colorful. Here to speak about and sing from Rex, Penny Fuller.
My husband, Henry VIII of England, was upset because I had just given birth to our daughter, the little Princess Elizabeth, and not a son. He thought that England needed to be ruled by a son. Even then. So he's looking for somebody else to play with, so to speak, and I catch him playing with Lady Jane Seymour. And I raise the roof and I throw her out and I say, "Come to bed with me. If you won't come to bed with me, then Elizabeth will be queen." And he looked at me, Nicol Williamson, and he said, "Lady, I raised you up. I can put you down." I just couldn't do it. I couldn't get from A to B. Well, we tried a lot of things. Sheldon Harnack even wrote new lyrics for me. But finally, the song was cut on the afternoon of opening night. But it is a beautiful song, and so it was put on the cast album. Yesterday, your eyes were bright with love, your face alight with love, so much you loved me. Yesterday, your laughter rang with love, each gesture sang with love, so much you loved me. You were a burning fire, you were the sun at noon. Can a love that has burned so brightly turn to cold gray ash so soon? Ours, you said, would be a lasting love. It seems our lasting love has gone astray, as a star can fall from the sky, so can love unlasting die. Well, there were other problems too in this show. There is a book. Someone has to live long enough to write it. When we got to Washington, they decided that Hal Prince should come in and give some help. So Hal arrived, and the first day he sees this little boy running around in the theater. And the little boy's about 3 or 4, and he has red curly hair. So Hal got this idea. He went to the little boy's mother, Candace Tovar, one of the dancers in the show, and said, "Would your little boy be willing to be in the play?" And she says, "His name is Sparky Shapiro, and you'll have to ask him yourself." So Hal went to Sparky, and this is all true. And they negotiated. And Sparky said if he could pick out his own dress, he would play the baby Elizabeth. So Sparky picked out a pink satin dress, and they had a little caplet that had, holes in it, pearls, and his little curls would come out of the little holes in the caplet. And Sparky made his debut. He comes onto the stage and he sees his mother and his father arguing in this scene, and he just kind of watches and he pads along and he sees the throne, and he climbs up on the throne and he sits on the throne and he kicks his legs and he watches his parents arguing, and he was brilliant. But he was so brilliant that he stole the scene. So Sparky was out. And I was back to vamping. Now can I have a sip of that water? Is that water?
Set sights, everyone.
So we get to, actually, I liked this idea. Hal, we get to Boston, and Hal puts a scene in that was in for one night. And I can remember all the kids in the chorus standing in the wings watching what was going to happen with this whole new scene. And what happened was that I catch Jane Seymour, thank you. And Lady Jane Grey was somebody too, wasn't she? Yeah, anyway, Lady Jane Seymour. And I throw her out. And then I sing the love song that Henry and I had as a duet in the first act. And I sing it to him, seducing him to come back to bed with me so we can make boys and sons. And something, I can't remember what happens, and we start the fight again, but now we're fighting the same fight, and he leaves. I say, if you won't sleep with me, Elizabeth will be queen. And he says, lady, I raised you up, I can push you down. And he goes, but I can sing the song because it makes sense. But of course, that was only one night. I knew that, because they would have had to change the song, the name of the show, to Mrs. Rex, if that was it. Gone was the burning fire, gone was the sun at noon, and the love that had burned too brightly turned to cold gray ash too soon. As you said, was an undying love, but our